All right, Andrew, welcome to the video lessons. In this video, we're going to explain who we're comparing you to and why, and then we're going to talk about some improvements that you've made in the last several weeks. First of all, let's talk about the pro comparisons. There's two pros that we're going to compare you to, and the first is Mariano Rivera, and the second is Eric Gagne. You can see Rivera here on the screen, and when I look for professional pitchers to compare kids to, what I'm looking for is the arm angle in the arm slot. And as you can see right here, this is where Mariano Rivera is releasing the baseball, and you can see that you release it in a very similar slot. And so we want to find guys that have similar arm angles as you, because that's one thing as pitching coaches we never change is the arm slot. We can change a lot of other things like our weight shift and when we separate our hands and what we do with our glove arm, but we want to keep this fairly consistent. And so as you can see here, you and Rivera have a very similar release point. So with that in mind, what I wanted to do is just play both of you guys in sync with each other a couple of times so you can get a feel for what he does versus what you do. We'll play that one more time. All right, now that you've seen Mariano Rivera, let's take a look at Eric Gagne because he's the other guy that we're going to look at when we're making comparisons for you. So we'll pull Eric Gagne up here for a second. Another closer like Rivera. And we're going to go ahead and get both of you guys to your release point. And again, what you can see here, you guys have a very similar arm slot here and where you let the ball out. You see that arm angle, you see that release point, and so you guys would be a good match for each other. So let's go ahead real quick and play you guys simultaneously with each other, get a feel for what you're doing versus what he's doing, and then we'll get into the focus points of today's lesson. All right, so let's start by talking about some improvements that you've made. And I want to begin by pulling up on the left-hand side the very first time that we videotaped you back on May 8th. And we'll pull that up here on the left. And then we're going to pull up Eric Gagne on the right. All right, and one of the things that we're going to focus on here is the rhythm that a pitcher creates. And you're going to see Eric Gagne here, and he's going to get into his knee lift right here. And notice when he lifts his knee, he has not separated his hands yet. As a matter of fact, he's not going to separate the hands until he begins to shift his weight towards home plate. So you're going to see him here drive off the inside of his back leg and start to shift his weight right there towards home, and then he can separate. And that's important because later on, when he gets into his foot strike position where his front foot lands on the ground, that's going to allow him to get these elbows equally lined up. You can see this back elbow is lined up equally with this front elbow. And so keep that in mind because what I'm going to do next is play the first time we videotaped you. And what you're going to see is that you separate your hands before you shift your weight. As a matter of fact, in this video, you separate your hands way too early, right there. And as a result of separating your hands too early before you've shifted your weight, when your front foot lands right there, you'll see a big difference in where your glove arm should be. You'll see here with Eric Gagne, his elbows are equally lined up. And this is going to help for balance and power, and also for throwing with command and efficiency. Whereas when you land, right here you can see your front elbows down here and your throwing elbows up here. So you're off balance a little bit. And as a result of that off balance, you're going to see here as you release it, you're going to fall off the mound a little bit right there. And you're not going to be in a great position to make a play. All right, so keep that in mind. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to look at how you've improved. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull up your most recent video. And we'll pull that up here on the right-hand side. And we'll pull up Mariano Rivera just to give you another look at another pitcher that's like you on the left-hand side. And what you're going to see now is you do a much better job separating your hands at the right time. We're going to go ahead and get you into your knee lift. You can see here your hands are still together. And now you start to separate, which is a little bit better. And you can see over here with Mariano Rivera, knee lift, weight shift, then he separates. So if we want to go ahead and compare your most recent video to your first video, you'll see a big difference in when you separate your hands. Again, the most recent video here is on the right-hand side. Lift the knee, start a little weight shift, and there's the separation of the hands. Whereas on the left-hand side, you're going to see your hands separate right away. And you're going to notice a big difference here when we get you into your foot strike position. On the left-hand side versus where your glove is at on the right-hand side here, you can see you do a much better job getting your elbows equally lined up. So now you're in a more powerful and balanced position. So that's a great improvement. I'm pretty excited about it. And in the next video, we're going to talk about some things that you can do a little bit better to continue to improve as a pitcher.